Welcome to the Dynasty Podcast. It's been a week delay, but we're back. I don't even have to introduce our motherfucking selves because it's your same homies, Ben and Corey, back here in advance of week 4. I can't believe we're actually almost to week 4. I feel like my life is slipping away from me already.
Your
You
fantasy
anticipate.
life or your real life?
Well, you anticipate the season starting, and you're so excited, and then the next time you blink, it's week fucking 4, and you're 1-3 in most leagues, and you're just you're about ready to crawl into a little ball. But first and foremost, man, how's your nuts? I know you just had that manly procedure that most of us self-respecting civilians and societal members take, so we don't create the overpopulation problem. Are they swollen? Are they? Tell me about the whole experience. I want you to share, as much detail as you'd like, especially being that you're in Costa Rica.
Do you want me to go in depth about a
No,
vasectomy
maybe
here
just
on our
like your
pod?
top three, like memorable things about, like your overall experience. Like I'll share mine if it makes you feel more comfortable.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah. Was
I
there
didn't
any
get put.
negotiations with the wifey prior to doing this, or was it everybody's on the same page?
Well, look, here's the thing. You have a second child, and your second child is a fucking disaster.
Mm, mm-hmm.
Putting it lightly. I mean, I love him to death, but
He's a
he's a
piece of
real
work, that kid.
Diablo. He's like he like me as the nice part of my wife and I, and my son is the mean part of my wife and I.
Well,
And
just quick, hold on quickly. That is this 99.9% of the story when people have a daughter first and then a boy second. Just FYI, I'm in the same boat, brother. But go ahead.
I wonder if that's 99.9% of reasons people get a vasectomy, because the fact of the matter is, one, I didn't want to have another kid. Two, it was just like the second kid is worth two kids. So I have three kids. Even though I have two kids, I have three kids. There's one kid who takes twice the work as the other
Yeah.
kid that's three kids. So I'm not interested in having a fourth. Let's just put it that way. So we wanted to do it a while back, like a couple of years ago, and every time I scheduled it, something came up and yada yada yada. But
So do they even actually give you any sort of Novocaine in Costa Rica, or do they just raw dog you where it's just like they just take the blade straight to the sack? I mean, like, tell me
yeah,
about that.
Corey, you know what? You remind me of, I'm from a small hometown. I used to have to go off the mountain and talk to people from the flatlands, and they'd ask me if I had electricity and paved roads in my mountain because they were so fucking ignorant. No, there's actually a very good medical in Costa Rica, especially the private clinics. They're all fucking doctors are all trained at Brown and the fucking top institutions in the United States. They come here to make more
Is
money
that was
because
that
they don't have to.
racist? Did you pick brown because they're typically, of brown skin, or like was that just a coincidental thing? I'm not trying to create problems here. I'm just curious.
Corey, you clearly are, because you should know that Brown is a very nice medical
I didn't know that. I would have thought California schools were the ticket, but
oh
go
yeah,
ahead.
let me see. I'm married to a Costa Rican and I'm trying to be a racist. Why don't you
I
shut your
I
mouth?
don't think you would ever try to be racist first and foremost, and
Uh
I would never be racist either. Whatever. I'm in a weird, funky kind
you're
of
already
mood today.
derailed. You know the medical here is good. The public medical is probably not that great, but there's some pretty shitty medical in the States too. So, I mean, it's not Mexico. You're okay taking your kids to clinic and are very confident in what they're doing. So I was confident in this doctor. He gave me, I had some recommendations. A friend of mine already went to him, and he had a really bad experience with one guy who only cut one ball. So I just kind of said everything was okay here, but apparently one guy got a vasectomy and only one side got cut. So
I
anyways,
don't know anything about the details of the process. I just know that. Did they give you a Valium beforehand, or did
no,
you
I
just?
got nothing. I got zero help, and it was
Wow.
just local anesthetic. You're awake, get to see the smoke coming off your nuts of
Oh
them
God.
singeing a shit clothes. You get to kind of not feel anything, but still kind of feel something getting cut. It's not enjoyable. Like I wouldn't like it seems nonsensical to go under for it. I was in and out in under 30 minutes.
Yeah, I hear a
Like I
couple
was in the
things.
doctor's office and out of the doctor's office in 30 minutes. Like it was walking out on my own. It wasn't like
Yeah.
it's like a fucking in and out drive through, you know? You got to wait like 30 minutes. It's about the average wait of an in and out drive through, isn't it, Corey?
Depends on the time. I try not to hit peak hours personally. I'm always kind of
Oh.
an off
I
time
always
schedule
remember
guy,
it being
but
a shit
yeah,
show, but
it's rough. Yeah, it's same kind of experience. I had a Valium and I showed up one day and they told me, oh, we didn't, the doctor decided not to come in today. So I worked myself up all the way through like, okay, this is going to happen. I'm like, not, and I'm like, how do you just not show up? Like, and not tell me, right? Okay, cool. So then I went through the process again a couple weeks later and I have anxiety already, so like I was just sweating. The guy was great. He had done like 450 surgeries. Like, you know, he just talked to me the whole way. Like, yeah, it's all good, man. I'm just like, you know, filleting you here, and then I'm gonna put you back together. It was just a bizarre kind of experience because you kind of know what's going on, but you don't really want to think about it.
it's
But yeah,
impossible not to think about. It's impossible not to think about it.
my nuts are on the table and they're gonna scalpel them, and those things I've been protecting my whole life. That's what we're trained as men to do. You know those are sensitive, you know, area, and you don't just want to give up that kind of control of you know, having another man have a knife to them. I guess that was kind of my whole thought process. But anyway,
Came in firing on this pod, didn't we? Just straight nut
yeah, I
talk.
mean,
Fucking George is over there just fist pumping in the air as he's listening. We got nuts. We got nuts. By the way, Corey, you're not supposed to curse in the first 30 seconds of a pod or else you get flagged. So now we're going to have to stick to our normal 5 viewers. Maybe Georgia either scared one away with this post or we might have gotten another viewer. I can't tell which way it's going to go. He called everyone
well,
a cunt, so it's kind of dicey.
I honestly I don't do this for anybody else. I do it because I like it. I like talking to my buddy. If people don't listen, like Georgia says, it's not a big deal. It's not like we're putting out very serious content. I think we do a pretty good job. But
We
at the
are
end of the
putting
day,
out prime content. Don't
I
cheat
mean,
yourself.
I
Don't
think
cheat
we're having
yourself.
fun. I think we're having fun.
It's
We're getting
league
better at it.
centric, but it's premier.
So I guess the natural transition is moving into one of the biggest topics last end of last week and early this week with the Thursday night game concluding last night. This Tolt Tua fucking situation, man. He was. We both were talking, you know, through chat yesterday. We've seen people lock up in person, which is fucking scary, and I mean, people have seen it watching UFC, I'm
Yeah,
sure,
it's
and
really
highlights, but
scary when you see it, and if you find out it happens more often than you would think. But when you watch somebody's hands like do that curl and like start passing out, that's freaky.
well, I have to call it bullshit. Fucking one of the analysts, I think it was Whitmore. It might have been Sherman. I can't remember. Was like, oh, you know, I played football my whole entire life. I've never seen that. I'm like, you've never seen someone fucking lock up after hitting their head? Like that seems
Not
bizarre
true.
to me. You know, I have a kid that's 16 and I've gone through it. You know, like I've done it and my kid's done it. Like, I mean,
You
it's
know
just
what he
kind of,
hasn't seen? The choice Amazon made, which was to zoom into the dude's facial expression and show it 25 times.
oh
That's probably
man.
what he hasn't seen. He probably saw from a distance some dude get the shit knocked out of him and kind of fucking pass out and lock up. But I saw on like reactions just all the players like stop showing the replay.
Well, that's the
Like
prime. That's the prime, baby. You pay for that Amazon Prime. That's what you get. You get the zoom
Amazon
in fucking real
Prime.
life shit. We're like living in any given Sunday at this point. You know, it's like
You
it
got the
feels like
chick at
deeper.
halftime talking like somebody's actually dead, even after they have the news and this somber thing, and they just keep showing the replay. It's like, stop acting like you care about the player when you're just showing him and you don't even know if he's dead or not. Like, fucking unbelievable. Like,
Well,
oh
the
yeah,
other
let's
thing
show
is
his family at home. His eyes roll in the back of his head.
Carissa Thompson
Again,
is not very good either. I'm very disappointed in her. But I
I
mean,
like Fitzmagic. He's great.
yeah, he's fine. But I mean, it's just I don't know if they're just trying to be kind of like casual and just you know we're trying to get this together on the fly. Maybe it's a lot like our podcast. It drives me nuts. Like, yeah, professionals are professionals. You can't just get into that role and be good at it right away. And like that's evident in who they have working on their show. But anyway, the whole Tua thing. Hey, listen, we could talk about it all we want. Like it's the independent council's decision to decide, right? Like that's my understanding. So the Miami Dolphins, their coaching staff, they can override that and say, listen, man, like maybe this isn't worth it. But like the reason why they have this system in its place is to take the control out of the teams, the players, and the owners' hands and put it into an outside council. So I don't understand where all this backlash is coming in on Miami and the coach and all that stuff. Like, yeah, I mean the coach could override a player just like fucking the Chargers coach could have overrided keeping Herbert in when they're up when they're losing 38-10 because Herbert wants to play with his teammates. Like
What an
fucking A,
asshole.
be a coach and fucking hold them out, right? But like if an outside committee with their own independent professionals is saying he didn't have a concussion, like what is the NFLPA's storyline here as far as like grievance? I don't quite get it. Like I'm almost positive it looked like he had a concussion last week. Like I mean anybody that's watched enough football, that looks like a concussion, doesn't look like a back injury. Um, but at the end of the day, if they've ruled otherwise and he clears concussion protocol, is it just coincidental now that he gets slammed semi roughly on his head? Like as soon as I saw the play live, I was like, oh fuck. I mean, he whipped him down to the ground pretty hard. Does one translate into the other because it's back to back weeks basically?
Yeah, I mean the answer is yes because well, here's the thing. Like I did actually buy the back because I just actually pinched a nerve in my lower back that went to my sciatic and down to my hamstring. And I've made that movement too. It did like getting up fast, where your like whole side just buckles and you're like, fuck. So when that was the explanation, I didn't really believe it, but I'm like, okay, maybe. But as soon as you see him take a hit, it's a hit. A lot of players have taken hits like that. But that looked like you can't hesitate. It's like that's a dual trauma hit. He's concussed and you hit his head again. Now you're talking brain damage. And we don't want to talk about brain damage in the NFL or consequence or anything like that. Now, granted, Tua probably wanted to play. Okay, Tua wanted to go back in the last game. And the whole question is, do you protect players from themselves? And you want to talk about credibility. Well, let's see. Miami's ownership, are they following league policies? No, they're actually losing draft picks because they don't give a fuck about the league's policies. They're just trying to get ahead and win and do what's best for their team, not for their players or the integrity of the game or the rules. So,
well, their bottom line, essentially, right?
Hey, to me, fuck the Miami Dolphins. They're clearly negligently managing business. Fuck the fucking Chargers for their fucking coaching staff equally negligently leaving Herbert in that game. Like I cannot.
I guess these are.
It's just like it's if you care about player safety, there's a fucking players association. They should be suing these fuckers. Like they should. Like this players association should sue Lynn for fucking having Herbert on the field for 28-point blowout game. Like you can't justify it in any means.
Yeah,
or bringing fucking a guy concussed. I don't know, whatever.
The problem is like in our society is, and even in this conversation, and I'm not trying to compare everything to this, but like we as outside viewers have our opinions, and we don't know the internal facts. We don't. Like that's the bottom. That is a fact. We do not know the conversations that are had. We do not know the analysis of the independent doctors. We do not know if Justin Herbert's injury can get worse or better. We don't know the conversation he had with his coach. We don't know he thinks, hey man, this is actually going to help me long term because I'm learning how to play with this thing, or like maybe I get more stiff. We don't know. So all we do is we make assumptions based off of what we do know and what we see. And I think that's kind of the problem. Like they don't have to share us all the details. We as viewers and analysts and people that create opinions off this stuff take the information we have and then we spit it back out and however we initially react. I think we need to do a better job of saying, hold up for a second, give some of the people a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, right? Whether it be the independent doctors that released Tua to play or the Chargers coach, and be like, okay, he probably has Justin Herbert's best interest in mind. Miami Dolphins probably have Tua's best interest in mind. They're not trying to. They're professionals. They I don't know. So I guess
I believe in sample size.
Huh?
I believe in sample size. Miami is fucking dirty. They don't run their organization fucking well. I mean, it's gone all the way back from the fucking coach they tried to have tanked to tampering with talking to fucking players while they're under contract. Man, like, I'm sorry. Sample size.
So you're saying that Miami should have overridden the ruling by the independent council and just sat Tua anyway?
Well, you're saying you're making an assumption that there was a ruling that wasn't influenced.
Well, I mean, like that's what the council is, right? Like the council doesn't listen to the players association, it doesn't listen to the teams. It's its own assessment, right? So they don't have
Yeah, it
embedded
listens
interest in
to the
either.
excuses that were built by the team and the evidence that were put forth by the team,
Yeah, and we don't know
which
if
were probably
Goodell's calling and saying, hey, independent counsel, this is a Thursday night primetime game. Clear that motherfucker, or you're not going to have a job next year, right? Like so, like that. But then it would be Miami's obligation to overrule that and say, nope, he's not going to play. I don't care if he's cleared or not. Like we're going to take a slow approach. Like like I think that's where that's the only, to me, in both situations, it's the coach at San Diego overruling Herbert, and it's Miami overruling the independent counsel. Like, and so
also, let's
if
talk
you have
about
a
in San
problem with either one of
Diego.
those situations, that's the problem, in my opinion.
Let's talk about in San Diego. They have the same medical staff that fucking ended Tyrod Taylor's season by puncturing his lung.
Yeah, I don't know how
Never
that guy is.
fired, never let go. Same guy saying that Justin Herbert should be able to play with 28 fucking point loss. It is a sample size
Right, we're
of
right.
negligent
Yep.
fucking regimes.
They paid
I'm
$5
not
million
calling this
this
out
year.
on anybody else. I'm not, I mean, if you want to sit there and say Bill Belichick is a cheater because of Spygate and the Deflategate and all that stuff and ignore what everyone else does, that's okay because there's a sample size. I respect that opinion. We don't have a sample size on other people. There is shitty sample size on Miami and a shitty in these specific regards, man, on how they decide to handle their franchise and the integrity of the game, which Miami gives zero fucks about. And we know that the medical staff for fucking LA, San Diego, whatever the fuck, that are negligent because they punctured somebody's lung trying to give the same needle they gave to Justin Herbert. Could you imagine if he got his shit punctured and had to miss the season too?
I imagine
these are
that
almost
if
eerily
I'm Justin
similar
Herbert,
injuries.
if I'm Justin Herbert and I'm going into that meeting with that same doctor that just had to pay a $5 million fine or whatever, I'm kind of like you or I on that on that table in Costa Rica, where I'm like, I don't know, man, I don't want my nuts filleted today by some guy that just smells like alcohol and fucking has big dirty hands.
No,
You
no,
know,
no,
like
no. It would be like if you went to give you the snip, but by accident he snipped your dick off. And like
oh my, yeah.
and you heard that
Bill,
happened and you're
yes,
like, "Oh,
yeah.
should we
Oh, you're
should
the
you
same guy that snipped my
you're the
friend's
same
dick
guy that
off?
snipped
No.
somebody's dick off instead of
Right.
snipping like a little wow.
We couldn't.
Which
We
are
don't
we
have a
should
nurse
are
that
we
can do this. Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Wait, you still
Okay,
have your job? What the fuck
that's
is
a.
happening here?
We're on a roll fucking today. So we're
Let's go.
we're gonna mix this up because you're busted. We're gonna move right into you're busted. We're gonna switch
No,
it
hold
up
on.
because I feel
Hold
like
on. I thought we were gonna you
no,
want
we're
to
gonna
talk
do
about the trade?
no, we're gonna do you're busted now because Miami's fucking busted and San Diego's fucking
I was
busted.
gonna say
So
there's some trades that are busted, but you go ahead, Corey, wherever you want to go with this. You
all
tell
right,
me.
no,
There's
we're gonna
some
go.
there's
We're
some
gonna go.
nuts that have been filleted, and there is definitely some busted ass trades that have been happening.
All right, we'll stick to the course because I like to be overruled every once in a while. So the next
Hey, I
segment
win one.
is trade talk, right? So been a lot of action. At least people are finessing their way either into the bottom half or the top half of the division. So we thought we would analyze some of the bigger trades in the last couple weeks. Most recently, man, differences of opinion on this one too. I guess I've thought about it a little bit, but we had Penn State giving up Deshaun Jackson, Anthony Everett, Micah Hyde, both on IR, I believe. A first round draft pick from Penn State, which is probably 28 to 32, 27 to 32. And then obviously either a top 5 pick from Argo, where he's headed this year, by will, not by chance. And the Riv gave up Javante Williams. Now, before we get into this, and I'll let you do your analysis, Ben, I just want to point out here, are you okay taking on a bit more salary as well? I just realized I'd be over if I took on Williams, and some of my IR guys came back. Just another little insight into how good Mike is sometimes. Like, he then probably has a trade negotiated, but it's like, maybe I can dump a little bit of cap too. And so I just wanted to point that out, and I can just kind of say it how Mike would say it if he was actually chatting live. Like I just in my head, I know how he's thinking about this. Go ahead. Your thoughts first on this trade, and just your analysis.
So the whole idea that the Rev isn't actually the Riv is now officially we're putting this to bed because nobody made trades this bad except the Riv back in the day. So the Riv is the Riv. It's the same Riv. It's Riv Akia y en China, as they say in Costa Rica. All right. The Riv making Riv shit. And old Penn gets to pay the same price that one person paid for Gabe Davis once upon a time for
Not
Javonte
true.
Williams.
Not true.
Holy shit.
Not true.
It's pretty close. Pretty close. Not going to lie. It's pretty close.
All right. So I'm going to let you keep going, but counterattack on that. So you're not in favor of this trade for the Riv. And what do you think would have been more fair compensation, given all your history in this league and typically what a, top 5 running back, top 10 dynasty running back arguably would be. I mean, you're not vetoing it, right? So it's not dog shit enough to overdo that, right? Like some would say that Javonte Williams is a 10 to 12 point per week running back at this point, right? Like,
okay.
I mean,
He's a rookie deal. He's the number 2 running back from that class. Okay,
right.
so if it was redrafting running backs, he's number 2 still. It's Harris and then him. Okay.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
In a league that we've seen through 3 weeks, there aren't any running backs, any good ones. Even the best ones aren't really scoring. Right. So you have him on a rookie deal, which means you got him locked up forever without even paying the threat of, having a holdout, and a first-round draft choice, which will be probably after this trade, number 32. Congratulations, old Penn. It's bottom 10, I'll tell you that. And then, the first round pick from Argo is going to be a lottery, more than likely.
So the lottery puts him, you don't know for sure, but where does that put that pick? Like in the top 8?
On average? Right? Yeah, okay, say on average, pick 4.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So it's giving 104 and 124 at best.
We'll call it 129, right? Like we think Penn State's a top 5 team.
Trying to split hairs here.
Yeah.
For Javonte Williams. Now that price would have been laughed at other sections of the year. All right. And at the end of this year would be laughed at again. Right? You just be like, go fuck yourself. No way. There's like, go fuck yourself. That will be the narrative in March. That was the narrative all the way until, I don't know. The Broncos are starting to 3 weeks. I'm going to overreact that Javonte Williams, who's getting all the passing work, by the way, it still isn't Javonte Williams. He looks like Javonte Williams. He still looks like he can be a beast. And Melvin Gordon is still almost fucking gone. So whatever. My opinion is, I don't know shit about trade valuations if this is a fair trade.
Okay. I mean, so that was my initial reaction as well. All right. I'm like, what? I thought top 5 dynasty running backs go for 3 first minimum, right? Like instantly. That's my reaction, right? I obviously paid 2 first. It was a 23rd and a 27th and a 3rd for Gabe Davis before he was anywhere near the Gabe Davis he is today, which is still not, a top 10 player dynasty wise. And got laughed at and somehow have kind of regained a little bit of that, trade. If we're looking at it today, would I have paid that price now knowing what I know? No, but okay. So all that considered, I think they're different. They're different deals. I didn't give up a lottery pick, right? So that's really what we need to assess here. Now, if it's a top 4 pick, you didn't know that
at the time, did you?
What's that?
You didn't know whether or not it was going to be a lottery picker at the time, did you?
No, because I was an idiot and I didn't really understand how to assess that, right? Even if you
it is fairly close, but go ahead.
Okay, well, I mean, yeah, you still assess the players, the GMs and their teams and their last rec. Like I kind of had an idea that I wasn't getting a top 5 pick, but
Would you trade Gabe Davis and a second round pick for Javonte Williams?
Would I trade Gabe Davis and a second round pick for Devontae Williams? 1,000%.
Yeah, okay. Then you answer my question.
Yeah.
You have analyzed it right there, Corey.
Yeah. So here's my other thing, though. So if it's a top 4 pick, right, like in next year's draft, you're almost automatically taking a running back.
Top
right?
8. We're assuming it's going to be middle of wherever.
Okay, so you're almost guaranteeing you're going to take a running back in this league. I mean, it's not always the case, but okay. So this year we had Breece Hall, we had Walker number 2, we had I think James Cook, and then we had Isaiah Spiller. My problem with this is you have a guaranteed motherfucker in Javonte Williams right there. You don't know if you're getting Breece Hall in that scenario. So why are you giving up the guaranteed motherfucker for the next 5 years in a hopes that you're going to pick a guy that works out? You don't know. So that's where I think some of these trades, okay, yeah, a lottery pick for a lottery pick makes sense, but you still have to make the right fucking pick, right? And so then you get another late first, which doesn't really, I mean, who cares? Like a late first, like what's the batting average on a late first? I mean, maybe you go defense.
Hold on. Corey, let me put this another.
Go ahead.
Okay, let me just put this in a context because you keep saying late first, but we're in 16-team leagues together.
Right.
Would you or would you not veto a trade if it was a first, a second, and a third for Javonte Williams?
Yes.
That's exactly what we're looking at right here.
Right, yeah.
Okay, because Penn's is a second round pick.
In
any other format
too. Like, I mean, that has to be considered. Like, it throws.
Well, I mean, look, maybe he didn't shop him around. Maybe he's panicking.
But that's my other point. That's what pisses me off. First, you're not looking at the chance value of actually making a good pick with whatever that fourth is, or 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Maybe you get fucking pick number 7 with Argo's pick, and you got Christian Watson, Sky Moore, or fucking I don't know, Isaiah Spiller. Like, fuck me running, right? Like, that's 0 for 3, like, at least in the short term.
Next year's draft is supposed to be significantly better than this year's. Fair. Which is one fair point. And
how has Riv been drafting in the past? In your experience, I mean, has he been a good drafter?
If you want to go back 10 years of who the Riv was,
I don't know.
Think he's had the worst luck. I'm almost 100% positive he drafted Kevin White, 104.
Oh, gosh. Well, I feel that.
I think he he has. If it's the same Riv, the old Riv, we were looking at histories, and I was like, that guy missed on an ungodly amount of stuff, which we're assuming it's the same Riv. And if we're assuming the same Riv, and he likes fast cars and fast women. I don't know. He basically is gambling that he can win that lottery and get the 101. And if that happens, this trade would be closer.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Because then you're taking the chance and having to do assessments, and you're taking the number 1 guy in most people's account, right? Like, I get that. You're taking Breece Hall. Nobody's not taking Breece Hall there. So
the flip side of that, Corey, real quick. Okay, and you keep Javonte Williams, all right, and it's March. And the combines and everything come out, and we know who has 101. You think that person's not giving you 101 for Javonte Williams?
Right. Yeah.
Maybe he won't give you the first, and I don't know. I feel like maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't know the trade way people try. There's 32 owners. They're all going to value trades. Opportunity costs different.
Well, we do know that we have access to all other 32 owners. We do know we have access to trade bait. We do know we have access to fucking a message board. We do know we have access to a fucking chat room. And I had not once seen that Javonte Williams was fucking available. I didn't receive any offers. Like, so maybe Penn gets a little bit of credit for being the GM he is. He's going after guys he wants. He's being active. He's laying it out there. But if I get interest in my number 1 player, and right now my number 1 player is Khalil Herbert, right? If I get fucking interest in Khalil Herbert from someone, even if he's not on my trade chart, I'm gonna send out like some feelers to some other people that I might think be interested, because I want to maximize my return. There's still got to be 6, 7 other owners that have a fucking lotto pick. I have one, for Christ's sakes. Now, would I send John Candy's pick and 2 firsts for fucking Javonte Williams in my situation? No, I'm not doing it. So did he get the value that he wanted? 2 firsts and a late second, and whatever other crap he got. I mean, it's hard to say, but at least test the market. It's kind of like me in my 20s. I could have settled down. But I was, kind of testing my market value to see what I was worth, like, in the open market. And I tested my market value well into my 30s. You know what? I started gradually getting better market value return, and I landed a hot wife because I was fucking patient. Like if I would have settled in my 20s, I'm probably married like a corn-fed chick from Iowa that's, like a bowling ball at this point. And
I'm not going to agree with you there, because I think a lot of deals are lost in people getting cold feet, and then if you test waters and then don't get it, somebody might pull their deal and be like, I might be paying too much.
You didn't listen to my analogy very well then, but okay, that's fine.
Just saying, you can do it discreetly fine. Time sensitive. If he thought this was a screaming deal and he didn't want Penn to, are you okay with taking it? This looks like a back and forth though. I don't know.
Bottom line is,
I don't always think you need to throw it out there if you're getting a deal that you think is really good, which probably happened here. I mean, it was so good that clearly it feels like that offer was given to Penn. And then Penn countered with taking on, right? Are you okay taking back on a bit more salary as well?
We'll get clarity from Penn on that. I think Penn's been trying to go at certain players. He was in the Kamara hunt. He held still there. Pretty smart by him, if you ask me.
Okay. Well, maybe
he got Javonte Williams for the same price, and I don't think anybody in the right mind would take Kamara and his contract over Javonte Williams. So could have he gotten more? Answer's probably yes. Did he get enough to make it passable? I think so, yes, as well. Like, we just don't know. And there's a lot of uncertainty in what Riv will do with that pick to see if he gets return value on giving.
Hey, man, we could do the old Gabe Davis look back and the Amon-Ra Stevenson shit, but that in the end, it won't really matter.
I didn't win that trade. Like, there's no question in my mind at this point. Because of the way Stevenson and Amon-Ra and St. Brown performed. But hold on. But the reason why is, again, because Mike made those fucking picks. If Wayne makes those picks, I probably win fucking in a landslide, right?
Well, Georgia would have taken 2 undrafted free agent running backs.
Who knows? Who knows this? I mean, Mike made 2 fucking great picks, and it's paid off for him. Like, I mean, that's the difference. Like,
maybe
put the pressure on the picker.
Maybe it's better for the league that he doesn't have that draft capital. If he keeps hitting like this, it's going to kill us anyways. He would have gotten 3 fucking bangers. Now he only gets 1. So actually, what? You fucked up, Mike. You're too good at drafting. I'm glad you have less capital.
And maybe Melvin Gordon will be the Tom Brady of running backs.
The Frank Gore.
Yeah, Frank Gore. That's there you go. Perfect. That was quick, bud. I appreciate that one. Nice hat, by the way, too. Let's not talk.
Yeah, the new Alley hats.
That's pretty sick. I've been to that club. It's enjoyable. All right, we're moving on. We picked this one because we gave Jason Mighty Orphans a lot of shit in our last pod for not being active, right? Like he just is not
he's done like 3 or 4 trades since then.
Well, he's been pretty active. Like, he's getting loose. I think his wife was out of town for like a month there, and then maybe he loosened up a little bit. Now he's back to being focused, and this is the result of him being focused and making good trades. Well, we'll see if it's a good trade. What did you think about this one? Argo, our friend, part of the Costa Rica Mafia, gave up Alvin Kamara, Turpin, I don't know, and that's it. And Mighty Orphans gave up Sermon, Mohammed, Zadarius Smith, first round draft pick, probably mid to I would guess 18 to 24-ish right now draft pick, around 2 kind of in the same range, and around 5 from Jesus, which is probably about the same range as well. What do you think of this one, Ben?
I mean, we're going to compare the two. It's tough. Okay, so Argo wanted way more.
Like a dumbass. So let me do that real quick. Sorry, guys. Not that it would have mattered, but it would have been helpful to read this yourself. So hold on. Let's look at Kamara's contract. So he has $187 salary, 1 year left. suspension looming, and can be tagged.
Yeah, I mean, if for anyone who's going to try and make a run for the Super Pod, it's just a good asset to have, and I think he got it way cheaper than Argo wanted to give it up. But fact of the matter was, nobody else wanted to pay it because people are too focused on the long term. When if you are in contention, which it seemed like, Orphan's roster was just, it feels a couple running backs away from really making some noise in the playoffs, then it's worth a gamble. He got Mark Ingram on one before, so it looks like he was trying to kind of leverage all his capital to make a run this year, which I like. I mean, I like taking what's in front of you because you don't know what's happening next year. We don't know if that case will get dropped. We don't know if you just don't know. And then so that would be assuming a Kamara is a worthless asset for next year, that I think it's a good trade. But that's probably not the case. Because I think his case is like super earlier in the year, so we'll probably know a suspension probably will come down pretty quick before he has to decide to franchise him, I believe. So I don't know, man. I think it's good to go. He gave up, some top capital in Sermon, but it's a bust pick. So whatever. That's like, I can see on Argo's side, he's at least getting some draft equity back, right? If the guy can get his shit together and is healthy and whatever, maybe there's something there. But for me, I think it's a fair amount of. I think it's a very fair trade. I also, Turpin, I think has got extended for 4 years, so that's a wide receiver that probably Morphins, as a Cowboys fan, knows more than most people about. So. You got a couple assets there. It's not just the Kamara, and I think he paid a decent price. I mean, Za'Darius Smith was kind of expensive. He's on a transition tag, so it's his last year deal. I picked that up off of Argo in a later trade. So, I think he gave away very little in his attempt to try and win the Super Pot year this year. While giving
or at least
away
getting the money, right? Like it's not even about just
winning. I
mean,
mean,
if you get in the
hey,
playoffs
man, getting the money.
and get
if you get in the playoffs, you're vindicated for the trades like this. You don't have to win the league to vindicate a trade like this.
Well, he's a second-year owner. He's not. This is his first year of actually investing in the league. He inherited a pretty good team. Like he's made his team better in a super pot year where he's put himself into what? Well, say he takes home $1,000. He's paid for himself in the next 3 leagues. He has good young players on his roster already. Couple of points that I'd make quoting you, Alvin Kamara, if he doesn't get at least 8 games, we're fucking almost insane because Willie Gay got fucking 4 games already this year for breaking his mom's vacuum
cleaner. He won't. He'll get 4.
I mean,
precedence, dude. It's all precedent.
It's just crazy.
That's how it works.
Okay. Well, so if Alvin Kamara only gets 4 games next year, I think this is a 100% win for Jason. Now, the other side of this is he's moving Trey Sermon on, which I think is a shitty contract. I don't think he can rebound. I don't know where he comes out of this. Dontrell Hilliard maybe, or like who's the other guy in that tore his Achilles in Carolina? I mean, like what's his career path at this point? He couldn't beat out
Foreman.
Yeah, Dante Foreman. He couldn't beat out 4 undrafted free agents. So there's got to be something going on there.
Change his scenario, and then he's got to get up on the playbook.
Yeah,
it's too early. If he doesn't get elevated from the practice squad this entire year, yes, that's a bad problem.
So I guess what I'm saying is Roman gets a middle to late-ish first-round draft pick and a middle to latest second-round draft pick. He gives up, he gets 2 transition tag guys, and maybe he can turn that into, knowing Roman, he will turn that into some more draft capital to some competing GMs this year. He takes on the Trey Sermon contract, which is risky, but it dissolves in a year anyway. After next year if he doesn't extend him. So I don't think Roman got as much as he wanted, obviously. I think he got what he could. I think he said, listen, I gotta do this. Nobody's giving me the return I want. and I think it's a fair trade. I think if I'm on Jason's side, I like it a lot. I gave up very little for the return, and I like the fact that you pointed out Cavante Turpin, because he seems to be a good value, especially in the return game, and is going to score points. So. Yeah, and if Alvin Kamara only gets 4 games, he's going to be tagged, and he's going to be a good force next year.
He's
And
for sure worth a transition tag.
yeah,
For sure.
absolutely.
Right. And a franchise tag is maybe iffy, but like he's worth something on a transition tag.
He's got 3 years left in the tank.
But he's not going to be worth this type of capital. And, I would have maybe waited for him to, his get right game that's coming this Sunday in London, where he's going to have like 45 fantasy points against my shitty Vikings. But
I'm playing the Vikings D, so I hope that doesn't happen, man.
Oh,
Anyway.
that's a bad idea. We run a prevent, dude. Don't play Vikings team.
I don't know, man.
It's a bad.
I gotta do.
Red Rocket's gonna
watch
torch us.
something. I want to watch something at 6:30 in the morning. I don't have a lot of players going, man. So
okay, fair enough.
It is what it is. All right, so I think that does it. Savvy move by both vets. I'm happy that Jason, made a couple deals lately. Sometimes, though, the trades that don't happen are the best trades, because Jason and I were working on a Spiller for Herbert deal for a couple weeks, 3 weeks. I was offered it. And boy, am I glad I dodged that bullet as of right now, because Herbert looks like he's going to be the #1 back in Chicago moving forward. Definitely in the long term, I don't see there's any way that Chicago re-signs Montgomery to push him out, especially with all the money that they have and where they can invest it. Super excited about that. And Spiller, man, what could possibly, like, Eckler has not been himself. He has not been himself this year. And they're playing Josh Kelly and who else are they playing? Like, I don't get it. Like, what is Spiller not doing that at least can't get him in there 8-10 touches a game? It's mind-boggling, and it actually pisses me off. So anyway,
it makes you angry.
Yeah, I'm just like, I want to see the kid work a little bit, or like understand more why he's not. I know he had an injury early in camp, but like, fuck, man, let's put him in there at least in the return game or something. Fuck. All right. Do we want to look at another one? Do we need to move along? We're at.
I'll just point out that I thought a sneaky under the radar trade that was really good for is Moose going and getting the Cleveland Browns quarterback in trading for the Steelers quarterback and Brian Asamoah, because Moose is 3-0 and I think he's first or second in points scored. He's destined for the fucking playoffs. And now if he gets Deshaun Watson and Deshaun Watson's primed with that team, that's a real low key 20-point difference possibilities through the playoffs, right? So good on you, Moose.
Moose is
and I think for Packers who's rebuilding, it was great, right? I think Brian Asamoah is going to start for us next year, and Steelers have a guy that might end up being okay. Like, I thought that was a good trade for both sides.
The one I think Moose is a very savvy GM. Just nothing else to say there. He makes micro moves. He makes big moves. He does a good job. I would like to just take this opportunity to point out, like, I would love to see some more interaction from the newbies in the league, right? Like, I've had some trades out with the Packers. They last 4 or 5 days, man. Like, and I don't care if they listen to the podcast or not, but it's like, what, we have 5 new orphan, or rookie managers, including possibly the Riv. Like, just not a ton of activity, not a lot of interaction. Maybe they're not enjoying the league. Maybe Georgia's scared them away. I don't know what the deal is, but we'd love to see some more interaction. Even if it's not great offers or like not the best interaction. Fucking engage, Maverick, engage.
Didn't Moose tell us he was in like 35 leagues or something like that? He still can be active on chat.
Moose? Oh god.
Didn't he say he was in like an ungodly amount of leagues?
No, that was Wayne. I think Wayne said he's in like 67 leagues or something like that. But
no way.
I wasn't Moose.
Well, again, to that point.
No.
He still chimes in.
It was freaking Bulldogs. I think it was Josh. Josh
was it?
The one. Yeah. He admitted that like live on the show.
Somebody remind us in chat. We specifically talked about one
Bulldogs.
of our interviews last year, meeting a new owner.
He was like in 30 leagues. Yeah.
It could have been, yeah.
Okay. It was Josh. I'm 1000% positive. Anyway, there might be a couple of us that are in more than 20, 25 leagues, but I know Josh is one.
Not me
or
anymore.
was.
I just hold on to my Paragons. I
Yeah.
love them so much.
Yep. All right, we're gonna move on now into the your busted stage of our pod, and this, Ben, is your opportunity to talk about the defensive players from this year's draft that have busted. Correct?
Well, I was gonna, yeah, we'll start with the bus on defense, and then I'll give the glory where it is deserved. So I basically went through the first 3 rounds of our blue chip draft, okay? And I weighed in on not just the draft capital of which they were taken on, but the opportunity given. I think there's a lot of players that are okay that we don't need to talk about. It's just way too early to talk about. And there's some guys that definitely are disappointing, and it's a real problem. Okay. And I think we're going to have to start off the top of that list of being Nakobe Dean. He's a first round pick, 127. I know most people drafted him knowing that was going to be a patience game. They've had injuries. There's been a lot of carousel. They just lost a DN. Hassan Reddick's going in there. Guess who's still not getting snaps? Dean's not getting snaps. Okay, so what's that saying is that he's just not ready. It's also saying they're probably a pretty damn good defense, but I don't know if you drafted Dean, if you're super stoked about it right now.
Well, I drafted
in
him,
any
so,
formats.
I mean,
yeah. Well, are you stoked about it? I mean, I'm sure you're okay with waiting,
no,
but it still would be nice to get a sample size.
Roman. I traded him and Justin Ross to Roman for a Candy's first round pick.
Oh, well done. Well done.
No, I got Justin Ross back. I can't remember the exact deal, but
Okay.
I don't know. I'm sure he's going to be fine.
So that's the one that actually, that just kind of stands out based on draft capital. Like everyone else, you can kind of wait for, and if they haven't played, it's not a big deal. But when you go a linebacker in the first round, and you got donuts all the way through, and opportunity of injury fill in that isn't happening, you just kind of got it. 2022 is written off, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he can be a great player down the line, but when you take first round draft capital out of any defensive player, you kind of want a little more than that.
What the knock on him, just real quick, was just not elite speed, great tackler kind of thing. Like, so maybe he's just having a hard time adjusting.
No, he was just raw, and then he had injury history, so it could be something in there. The injury was the big worry, and that he was just raw athletic talent too. That he was going to have to be molded into something, and that's probably very well still happening. I don't think there's a panic button that needs to be done if you're not trying to compete this year, but I'm going to say like it's pretty disappointing at this point.
Yeah. Okay.
So number 2, I have in our league taken pick 209, a safety, Kyle Hamilton, which for all the hype that guy got and how high he was taken in the real NFL draft, I think you got to look at that and be pretty nervous because he's got Marcus Williams, who just can't, all of a sudden is ascending to an elite role over there, which was really surprising. So you could say, okay, cool. Marcus Williams came in and he beasted, and Kyle's just, he's not there. But here's the problem. They're running 6 DBs 90% of the time. Do you know what that means? That means these nickel corners and these other guys and even other safeties are getting more run. He's not good enough to even beat them out. That's a problem. Okay, so when you talk about is Kyle Hamilton ready, the answer is fuck no. And if you want to say, do you know what role he plays? I don't think they know yet either. I don't think they have comfortable of putting him even in 3 safety sets that much because his snaps just kind of gone down, and I'm really worried about that situation. He's now from the sure thing, plug and play, the best safety that was in the draft to a guy that's like Nakobe Dean, that is a developmental guy. Like that wasn't supposed to be like that, like that's not why he was drafted that high. He was supposed to be like destroying people at the gate. So I would be very nervous if I had Kyle Hamilton.
Nicely done.
And on taken 2 picks later, which I thought at the time was insane, but I know more about my team than I think others did. And the guy was so fucking good in college that it was kind of like he was a shiny thing, was Lewis Cine for the Vikings. Now, everyone just assumed he was going to get Bynum out of there. Now, Bynum's been he was really good last year. I knew he wasn't going to replace him. I thought we were going to run 3 safety sets more often with this defensive scheme, which we're not really doing. And the most troublesome part is 2 weeks ago, he was hurt first week. Second week, he comes back, he plays 1 snap. And so you're like, okay, well, maybe they're easing him in, or, maybe they're not going to use him in that way. And then Harrison Smith, the guy he's drafted to replace, goes down with an injury. And Josh Metilius, who has never played more than maybe 10% of snaps for the Minnesota Vikings in his history, gets 100% snaps, and Cine gets 0. Okay, that is a problem. And I, as a Vikings fan, want to light somebody on fire. I think it's the defensive coordinator I want to light on fire, or the fact that maybe we drafted a guy who isn't pro ready. Like, I don't know what it is. That is pure opportunity, and he can't get in the game. So that is a bust. At 2nd round draft capital, I mean, we can go later and see in this area, Kyle Hamilton and Lewis Cine, who else was taken. It's pretty rough if you took
Brisker,
one of these guys.
Brisker's one that's playing right now and all over the field.
Hold on, we'll get to him. He's in my happy spots. Don't worry. Don't talk about my happy rookies.
All
right. Then now we're going to go down to the 3rd round, and these guys are, first I have at 310 was Leo Chenal, who probably wasn't drafted capital wise to like do a ton for you. But the problem was, it's like it appeared that he was buried, right? And then what happened is Willie Gay goes out for the year on an injury, and it's like, holy shit, it's Leo Chenal season. This guy's gonna come in, he's gonna bring you 1st round value. He's gonna beat the shit out of that Jacoby Dean value, I'll tell you that. But guess what happened? No snaps, dude. He played like, I think 8% or something like that, and a journeyman out of nowhere is now the starting linebacker. Leo Chenal could not even grace the field, okay? And he was another very NFL-ready linebacker. So, like, some of this stuff, when we're going and looking and listening to these analysts and who's ready to play, shit ain't right, because all these sure-shot guys aren't playing, And I think with those, all the 2, 3, 4 on this list, that's the case. And it's not that he's going to be a bust, but he's just a wait until later, which is fine in the 3rd round. But I get nervous when a guy gets opportunity. You hope when a guy gets opportunity, he takes it. And a lot of cases guys have, right? It's like somebody got hurt, and now it's your job. And now you're a value at where you got taken, which is what Leo Chenal, unfortunately, is not. And then that same goes for, and almost even in worse fashion, my 319 was Nick Cross. And Nick Cross 2 weeks ago was on the list of probably the best rookies, but he was so bad week 1, and then he was even worse in week 2. 0 snaps in week 3. McLeod is in there. He won't even sniff the field. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts being inactive. That's how cold they are on Nick Cross. The guy they were so high on, he hasn't gotten hurt, and he's gone from 100% to like 60% to 0% snaps with no injuries, and they lost guys, right? He got all the opportunity with Willis going down, and so now it's just McLeod, and they're not even playing 2 safeties 100% anymore. I think McLeod's playing like 67, 70%, and then they're going with corners. And that means they want you off the field. That means you are not ready. And for me, that's scary even long term, because they might be like, okay, this guy's just not it. Fucking now he's out of the league in 2 years, right? And so when you get a 3rd round, I think Nick Cross is probably the 3rd or 4th safety taken in this league. That's going from a real high moment to like, oh my God, I think this guy might be worthless now. So congratulations if you sold high. I almost activated him off of a roster, so I'm kind of glad I didn't. But those are my top 5 busts in on defense there, Corey.
Nice. Do you want to just continue on your high spots or
Yeah.
your top five? Yeah.
So top five of the the rookie face
Overperformers, we'll call them.
fuckers. The
Yeah.
rookie face fuckers. We'll call
Yeah.
them the rookie face fuckers, right? Because that's what they're doing. They can't make this list unless they're face fucking the league, Corey.
I
All
like
those
it.
other guys that are doing okay, they're not on this list.
I
And
like it,
I'm
buddy.
going to start with the number one D end who's taken, and that is Aiden Hutchinson. Is face fucking the league. I know he's been a little spiky and inconsistent, but you don't get 2 sacks and then 2 sacks again. And, come on now. With 3 sacks he had in one game. Like, Aiden Hutchinson, I watched Lions games. He's in the backfield. He's not blockable. He reminds me of like Bosa-like talent. I think he's going to be ridiculous. So not only was he expected to be good, but he's clearly dominating. And that's a 122 pick on a D end, really high, paying dividends. So it's nice when you get to
Nice job,
take it
Jason.
standalone. There you go. 125, Devin Lloyd. I don't know if you've watched much of the Jags, but if you do watch the Jags, it's basically Devin Lloyd murdering everyone. He's dominating in disruptions. He's dominating in tackles. He's dominating in action. His PFF grade's fucking absurd. I wish I had the real number, but he's like at the tops. So this guy came in, inserted, and he's like a big reason why that Jags defense is really.
Can you say inserted one more time? I really like that.
Inserted, and like when
Thank you.
they inserted the knife and cut my balls. There you go. Some more ball talk for you, Corey. So that's pretty good. Another first round value that's not only paying off. Like I heard somebody talking about him being top 5 dynasty linebacker currently. That after 3 weeks is a hell of a fucking that
wasn't
making people
wasn't the
understand.
knock on Lloyd is like there were already a couple stud linebackers there and they just didn't where was he going to fit in kind of in the year one?
No, you're thinking of the next guy on my list, which is Trayvon Walker. Okay. Devin Lloyd was a beast. Devin Lloyd was expected to be a beast, tackle machine. He's actually just as advertised.
Okay.
But Trayvon Walker, who went 202, he was laughed at, said he was going to be a bust, that he's going to suck. I think he's got 4 sacks on the year, and he also is in the backfield a lot. He doesn't look really blockable. So his raw talent that Nakobe Dean like wasn't considered as raw as this guy. This guy was considered so raw. He was like a second and third year even consideration to make a rotation. That's how people talked about it. And this guy is not only starting, he's like really causing problems. So
the
raw,
Jags Cornhuskers lotion won't even work, man.
No, that's pretty much it. And then now we go to 219 to where we get to see some happy safety love with Jaquan Brisker, who is absolutely face fucking people. He's bigger than I remember him. Like you look on him, he's like a fucking big linebacker, a lean linebacker. He can clearly cover tight ends. He can clearly fucking get in the back. He is a problem. He is going to be an elite elite safety for a long time. And I went and got him in a lot of spots because I liked his college tape and I thought he was going to be really good. And more importantly, he got the opportunity in Chicago, and it's like he's made the most of it, right? They gave him the starting job, and he's like, this is why I'm a starting fucking safety and why I might be a Pro Bowler this year. I mean, he's that good, man. Like he's been doing that well. So if he keeps that up, even on a shitty team, like he's been.
His defense has been holding up this year. I mean,
and I think that he's a big reason for it. I think he's a big reason of locking down that back and keeping that middle. And he plays a lot of snaps up at the line too, like a lot of the press coverage on the big guys. Like he's a disruptor, man. I think you got a really good
Gordon,
player.
Jalen Johnson on the corners. Like Gordon's been pretty good as a cornerback, and then you have Eddie Jackson and him playing the safety role. I mean, it's been. I mean, I think that's good. That's a good secondary.
Yeah, and so for my fifth is another safety. It went at 304, and that's Jalen Petre. And I didn't think Jalen Petre had a lot of upside because he was free safety, but man, he's been crushing it. I think he has almost 50 fantasy points at the safety position between from 3 weeks, and he's sure tackling. Hey, he's made big plays. And he's actually one of those unique cases at free safety who isn't playing a lot in the box, who still finds his way around the ball. That's very rare talent. And if you got him at 304, I think you're going to have a real long time. I mean, not only did he unseat the certain starter Murray from before because he had such a good camp, like he's one of the difference makers on this team. So that's number 5. That was a good third round steal. Whoever got Jalen Petrie.
Ben, I just want to give you a nice round of applause. That was a airtight delivery on a segment. You did your research. I think that might have to do with being a little laid up and just not having to be 25 different places at once. I know you're a busy man, so I just I want to compliment, give credit where credit's due. That was beautiful. Thank you so much for that, and I'm sure our listeners love that segment as well. Now on to a less professional segment. I'm going to redraft the offensive players and kind of do a little bit of the same thing, some of the bright spots. So if I share my screen here, I'm going to try to do this. No, so I'm not going to share the screen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to recap the top 10. So the picks were number 1, Hall overall, Walker, number 2, Williams, Jameson, number 3, London, number 4, Burks, number 5, Cook, number 6, Garrett Wilson, 7, Sky Moore, 8, Spiller, 9, and Olave, 10. Okay? So here is my redraft of those players now. I would still take Hall number 1 overall. I think, it's been a little bit slower start. Michael Carter's been more involved than people would like, but I think you're starting to see Hall get a little bit more adjusted. They worked him into the passing game a ton. Now it's going to really depend on what happens, I think, when Zach Wilson comes back into play, because if you take some of those PPR points away from Hall, it's not as good. I still think positionally and who he is as a player and his pedigree, he'll be just fine. So I would still take him number 1 overall. I was never a Walker guy. I'm on record of saying Kenneth Walker not at number 2. I wouldn't have done it myself. I know that you have to take running back in this league, or with lottery picks most of the time. I wouldn't have done it. I probably would have taken either Williamson or London at number 2 myself. And as of right now, I think I would take London number 2 overall. Safe wide receiver pick. He's actually the number 1 target over Pitts in Atlanta. He scored 51 points. He's doing it both from a PPR standpoint and from having touchdowns. I think he's a good player, and I think he's only going to ascend with better quarterback play. Actually, Mariota, as I expected, is performing pretty good. Like he's mobile. They're throwing the ball. They're staying close in games. So I think Drake London is a great pick at number 2. Dameon Pierce, I think a lot of us will admit we missed this one, probably based off of his utilization at Florida and not just being a high touch guy there with some of the other competitive backs they had in that backfield. I think he's been the number 2 running back, rookie running back this year. I think he's only going to keep ascending. Houston staying in ball games. I think we need to see a little bit more of what he's going to do in the passing game. It was a little scary in week 1 when Burkhead got all those touches, but they quickly realized that wasn't going to do the job. And then so my outlook on Pierce overall, I moved him up actually to position number 3 over the next 2 wide receivers, which was a little bit tough just because of positional need and having to have a long-term running back plug and play. So Garrett Wilson, 53 points overall this year. I think he's as advertised. He's kind of supplanted Elijah Moore, anybody else on that roster. He's looked smooth doing it. Again, the only issue that we may see is what happens when Zach Wilson comes back. Does that change? Is he going to go more deep, more often to Elijah Moore? The truth of the matter is Flacco has gone just as has taken more air shots or equal as Wilson did last year. So I'm not sure that's going to be that much of a differentiator. It's just about who guys are comfortable with and who they have that rapport with and where they look to first. But either way, Wilson has easily justified a top 5 overall pick. And then Olave, I think Olave, I think everybody kind of believed that he was going to have the option or was favorable to have a good rookie season just because of where he was and the team he landed on. I am on record again of saying that I believed he was going to outperform Thomas this year. And with Michael Thomas being out this week, and just how this has worked out, I'm still bullish on that. I think Olave not only will have a great season this year, but is continually going to be, a stud rookie. I just have really been impressed with like his kind of fluidity and route running and just the way he kind of looks on the field. I'm a big I find wide receivers to kind of be like, I don't know, like they're sexy, right? Like if they move sexy and they look good doing it, like I just kind of fall in love with them, and Olave kind of fits that mold. So I think his stock has risen a little bit, even though it was originally pretty high. Um, so that's Chris Olave, and I still don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right.
That's
Some
right.
people say Olave, some people say Olave. Um, we'll see. Jameis Williams. Why did I put Williams in there? It's Williams, right? Yeah, Williams. It's too early to tell. Like I still am super excited. I drafted him everywhere. So I'm biased. Obviously, we knew he was going to be sitting at least for the first 4 games. It'll be interesting to see what he does the second part of the season. I think it's a little bit more exciting because of what Detroit's done on the field. Jared Goff has looked competent. He has a legit threat in Amon-Ra St. Brown. So I think he only is going to complement that, and I don't think DJ Shark's going to keep him off the field or anybody else. And so I hope that he comes back week 5. I hope that he's fully healthy when he does, but I think I would still take him right around the top 6 picks right now, depending on where I was as a team and what I needed. If it were my team, I would have probably taken him even a little bit higher. Um, I'm not tooting my own horn here, and I think this is based off of where I was headed in the preseason. But Brian Robinson being number 7, I think it's easily discussed that he was on track to be the number 2 drafted running back in this draft class. Only Dameon Pierce holding him back, and then he had the unfortunate incident of getting shot twice in the leg. But that's only proven who I think he is as a person more. Uh, Hopefully coming back by week 5, maybe 6 because they have a bye week, I believe, week 5. So why would they rush him back after week 4? I think the kid just has something special. I think long term, I think he's going to be a solid plug and play first and second down back, and I think he has way more pass catching chops than people will give him credit for. So super excited to see where he ends up landing at the end of the year and as he starts to get some tick on the field. So wishing him a speedy recovery. George Pickens. Now, he hasn't performed. He's only scored 14 points overall this season, but I think everybody that's watched him and kind of seen the talent has to be excited about what they've seen. It'll be very interesting to see when Pittsburgh moves on from Kenny Pickett, or I mean from Trubisky. As a Bears fan, they better hope that they do it sooner rather than later. The kid just does not have the experience and just is too robotic. I think Pickett to Pickens is going to be a long term connection. As long as Pickens can continue to keep his head on straight, there are signs a little bit that he is got a lot of dog in him, and that's always been a little bit of the knock. But from a talent standpoint, just watching that catch he made down the sideline was fucking unreal. And hopefully he keeps it all together, and they put in Pickett, who has, I think, at this point, way more experience than Trubisky as an NFL quarterback, even though he's not played a snap because of all of the games he played when he was at Pitt. So 9th overall would be Dotson. I mean, I think he's performed to a wide receiver 1 almost in Washington. Like, I think you have to be super excited about what his both short and long-term prospects are. Carson Wentz has been more than competent this year. They're throwing the ball. Like, Terry McLaurin has not, dominated targets. Dotson's made some acrobatic touchdown grabs. He's been just pretty dynamic player overall. So I'd be super excited if I had Jahan Dotson as a long-term prospect and this year as well. And then Treylon Burks, this was kind of where it got a little bit tricky. I was thinking maybe you put Walker back in here. Maybe you could put Cooks back in here. They're kind of all in that same category. Burks has been disappointing. There's been a lot of troubling kind of, injuries and illnesses and things of that nature. But when he has played, I thought he's looked pretty good. And I think the upside of him being a physically dominant talent, if he can stay healthy on a team that does not have a true number one wide receiver, even if they're a little bit run heavy with King Henry, I think Burks has still a lot of upside, and I would feel comfortable taking him at 10 overall. Some of the disappointing players, if you look back to who was taken and that got pushed out of the top 10, you have to talk about James Cook, right? Like, I don't think anybody thought that Devin Singletary or Moss were going to dominate touches. I thought we would see Cook be a little bit more involved. He did get involved in week 3. I think he had like 4 catches for 40 yards, and that's what you would like to see. But you need to see the snap count improve, and you need to see one of those 2 other backs kind of being removed. And I think we'll see him kind of ascend back into that top 12 range regardless. But if you took him 6 overall, expecting him to be a part of the offense this year, you have to be slightly disappointed. I know Roman owns him and probably feels pretty good about him long term, which I think is fair. I think he's still very athletic, and once he gets cooking, no pun intended, he'll be fine. The other ones that are a little bit more troublesome for me are Sky Moore and Spiller. I just don't know if you take more that high in draft capital like Kansas City did, how he's not replacing some of the other guys in that offense. MVS, Hardman, they're just there has to be more room for him at least to get tick, and he's not even really on the field. And then they tried to get him more involved last week, I believe, and there was an intent to do so, and then he muffed a punt. So I don't know if it's just he's not understanding the offense. He's just not as dynamic as they thought. But I would have liked to see Sky Moore be more involved right away than he currently is to justify a top 8 pick overall. Time will tell. Spiller, I think has to be the biggest bust of the draft so far. If you're looking at someone that you draft as the number 3 overall running back or 4 overall running back, he goes into a position where you least expect him to be spelling Eckler, and he's not even, he's been inactive all 3 first games. Like, that is not what you want to see when you put that or invest that high of draft capital in someone, especially at the running back position. It screams bust to me, which it saddens me because I have invested in him in a couple of dynasty, or at least one dynasty league. So those are the 3 kind of guys that I have red marked that have moved out of the top 10, and then you move in some of those guys with Pierce, Robinson, and Dotson coming into the top 10, as well as Pickens. That's it. That's all I got. I would also like to point out that Isaiah Pacheco has probably been one of the brightest spots from an offensive standpoint. He's got 33 points overall. You could just feel the tension building with him, and where he was taken at 215 overall. You almost feel like he's already a hit because he's a part of the return game. He had a great camp. He's kind of exciting to watch on the field, and I think he's just a couple weeks away for getting more offensive play, either probably supplanting McKinnon, who I don't think is going to hold up all year, and complementing CEH. And quite honestly, he's looked more explosive than CEH anyway. But they just obviously seem to trust CEH a little bit more. So. Thoughts on that, Ben? That was a pretty quick recap. Any agreements or disagreements?
I agree with pretty much everything you said there. I think I might have him a little higher. I don't know. I think it's pretty good. Pretty well said. The Walker, he's been hurt, and Penny's look not good. So
Right.
I could see us 3 weeks from now being like, "Uh-oh, there's the Walker." But we don't know. For now, he's him and Cook. Cook started getting, I think he got 4 out of 5 targets out of the backfield, where he was kind of, he fumbled his first snap, and so I those 2 guys, I think I would like to assess. They're outside as they should be right now, but I could see both of those creeping back in. Where the Sky Moores and the Christian Watsons of the world, I think, are pretty strongly not going to come back in unless something weird happens. They don't really, maybe Christian Watson, but
I don't know.
I don't.
Watson hasn't even seemed to beat out Dobbs. So I mean, like
Dobbs is
that's
clearly superior, and Watson had the drop. I mean, they're going to keep using him. You can tell he got
yeah,
open.
no, I mean yeah, that he's
So
dynamic. It's just a matter. It's just crazy how people obviously athletic ability, intelligence, understanding a playbook, making the right plays when you have the opportunity are super important. But man, there's just a difference from probably a mental aspect in college to the NFL that people just do not account for. And I think what you see a lot of times is guys that just aren't quite there or are playing slower than they possibly can because they're just not there from a mental aspect of it. And so you can't unleash a lot of that athletic ability. And some of the guys that are truly just athletic and go out there and understand and they keep kind of things simple, like are somewhat dominant early too. So it's just very interesting how some guys make it and some don't. And I think a lot of it has to do with coaching and also the teams they land on early as well, right? Like in the situation they're put in. But that's kind of why I expected more and Watson to do better, because you would think that solid teams they don't have to do everything, but there was good opportunity for both of those players, and they just haven't gotten anything done. Still very early. We could look at this a couple weeks from now and probably have a couple move in and a couple move out. But that is my redraft of the top 10 picks for this BC Dynasty League. So
well
that
done,
is
sir.
it for that segment. We have one more, and then we're gonna wrap this motherfucker up right on schedule. Ben, I know everybody's excited to keep it snappy.
Snappy, snappy. Keep it
Yeah,
snappier.
so this is that paywall segment that we're going to request $1.50 per month from each viewer.
Oh, come on. It's got to be more than that.
Well, Penn seemed to say that was kind of like I could tell what
That's the
knowing Penn and how
threshold, huh?
stingy he
Penn
is.
can
He
afford it after that trade. I'm going to tell you
Yeah,
that right
right.
now. Penn
1.50.
can pay $50, man. $50 for Penn, 99 cents for everyone else.
No, we do this shit because we love it. But we are trying to improve our game a little bit, even though we do not prepare more than maybe 30 minutes a week. We're getting better at it. We're getting better. So as long as people are listening, the 3 or 4 are listening, we'll keep doing this, mother. So, all right, buddy, I'm going to stop my share. You take away. Keep it snappy.
Okay, so I'm going to kind of go through 5 guys that I'm getting a little nervous about. And this has to do with either their snap count or them getting snap cards and not getting production. And the first on that list is Sweat from Washington, has been playing his normal role. And that defensive line isn't looking explosive. It's not looking good. He's not getting pressures. He's not rating well. And he's not doing as well as you should be for his snap counts. Now he's super talented, so that could flip around. But there's a lot of disappointment going on that Washington defense. Fred Warner is played 100% snaps 3 games in a row and is getting like a quarter of the production Fred Warner is expected to get. And now I don't know if they've rotated some schemes. It has got some weird stuff going on. Hufanga, the safety, playing up in the box a lot. He's the tackle machine. He's been the disruptor. But for me, I mean, Warner's a top 5 safety value, and he's returning not even top 50.
You mean
running back, or linebacker? Sorry,
linebacker value?
Yeah, top 5 linebacker, and he's not even returning top 50. So maybe better ahead, but I would watch that. I wouldn't, like, if somebody wanted to bench him for somebody else, I'd be like okay with that. The other is Chandler Jones, because his snaps are good and staying pretty steady, and the same thing, man. They're not, I mean, that's an 0-3 team, so it's kind of a disaster, but he's not producing. So and his snap count has gone from like 80 something to 70 something to 60 something. So it's going to get to a point where we're going to ask, is Chandler Jones washed? And how soon will he lose his job if he doesn't keep performing? So I'm nervous on that. I have a lot of Chandler Jones. I think most people should. I already touched on Nick Cross. Nick Cross is done. Drop him, get him out of your lineups. Don't play this guy. Forget he existed. He's at 0% snaps, and it's done. And then Marcus Davenport at the end for New Orleans, he's down to 49% snaps at this point, and it's looking bad. His rushing grades are bad. He looks slow. He doesn't look explosive, and that defense has looked good, and he's looked like he's playing 49% snaps where he used to play around the 80 range last year for a reason. I think he could be either on starting to slow down bust list. Those are some starters that like I'm worried about. And I just gave you 5, so we can keep it quick. Nice. And then what I wanted to do is go along. This is gonna. These are the snap counts that are getting frisky. All right. So this is these are snap counts that are either vindicating something that we thought was happening through the first week or so, or it's something we should pay attention to because it looks like it's going to be a thing. And I'll start that with a couple players from the Giants. First is Micah McFadden. I think I came and said on this podcast I thought he would start at middle linebacker eventually. He's increased in snaps significantly last week to 47% and was fairly productive, looked good. So there's a possibility he's going to be dethroning someone as they're mixing some stuff up. And that's super interesting to me because Thibodeau came back. So it's kind of like they got some people and he's still getting run. So he had a barrier against snap counts, coming in and he's getting opportunity. So watch out for Michael McFadden. And the aforementioned Thibodeau got 58% last week, which and looked explosive and looked like he was, he's come back from an injury, but I think he's going to be fine. I think we want to look for that probably to go up a little, but I think Thibodeau is it's about time to start putting the S next to his name on your lineup if you own him. After that, we had to conversation week 1 where I was getting talked off the ledge on Raekwon McMillan getting like 90% snaps. Well, luckily he went down to like 25 and now he's at 0. So thank God the Patriots ended that experiment instantly, and I'm not that crazy. But the good news is Juwan Bentley, who was supposed to be really good this year, who had only seen like 61% snaps in week 1, has increased to now 93% snaps. So he's getting close to that 3-down thumper role that we kind of like thought he was going to have. And so if you were disappointed in Bentley's production the first 2 weeks, I would look for that to bounce back. I think he's going to be really good moving forward like he should be. And we saw on the Chargers end, Nick Bosa is out for looks like the year, I think, or he's just out for an extended period of time. He's on the IR, and they were really, really shallow at pass rushers, right? They went all in on Mack and Bosa, and the only guy who's like competent that's behind him is Chris Rumph. Probably never heard of him, but he played 56% of the snaps, which was all of the snaps after Bosa went out. So Chris Rumph is a guy to keep an eye on. I don't know if he's crazy talented, but he's probably going to play an 80 to 90% snap share in there. So it's a guy to keep an eye on, especially if you need a D end. Kansas City, looking at their snap counts over 3 weeks, there's one thing that's 100% certain. They were running a 4-2-5. Okay, so they're running 40 linemen, 2 linebackers, and 5 DBs. And the reason that's relevant is generally when a team kind of does that, that's giving a lot of value to the middle linebackers, right? Because they are really manning the front of the ship, and you see a lot of action in that way. And so when Gay went out, and I mentioned previously, we thought Shenault was going to get in there. It ended up being Darius Harris. Darius Harris played 87% snaps at that middle linebacker spot. Okay, Shenault got a little bit in there, and I think somebody else got like another 5% or something. But he looks like he looked good too. He got 13 tackles. So I believe he's the guy from now on. So if he's on any of your wires, Darius Harris is probably a guy you want to go look at as a plug and play at linebacker, especially because Gay's out for the entire year. It looks like it's his job to lose, and first game getting 13 tackles is pretty damn good. And your boy that you got just activated, I think, Jalen Watson. Good news on him, Corey. I know we kind of thought maybe it was a fluke play that he got that pick 6 all the way to the rack, but his snaps have gone up consistently, now playing 83%. as that third set in. I said they're playing 5 DBs. He's the third guy, and he's getting majority of the run. That could even get as high as 100% based off of how he's increasing, how he's playing. So I think you have a must start there with old Jalen Watson. So
I think a lot of times too, it's funny because I have Surtain, right? It's like Surtain's a plug and play. You're going to play him because he can make big plays, pick six type of thing. But like someone like Watson, who is perceived as a weak spot on a secondary, is actually better for your fantasy value, right? So it's like learning those little nuances of like, it's not necessarily having the best cornerback, it's having the ones that are going to try to get picked on and fucking hold up the court. And that might change year to year, right? So,
yeah, and he's an undrafted rookie, and like that, he's getting tested. But the thing is, like, man, he's playing well. So, and he plays in a position that generally generates a lot of tackles. So I think he's gonna be good.
Well, I'm good. Every once in a while I'll throw a dart and it hits something, even though I don't know where I'm throwing it at to begin with. So that's good. That's good stuff. Awesome work, buddy. That was one.
Hold on, I'm not done yet.
I thought that was your 5.
No. I got more than 5.
Well, don't fuck it up now because you're on a roll.
All right. Well, I'm here to confirm that Jerry Hughes revival season is officially a thing. Not only has he had 2-sack games, but he's also in the 80s in snaps and leading. He's playing more snaps than any other D end or defensive line player. He's clearly the guy that's like leading that team on defense. He looks like he's one of the leaders, and he's a disruptor, which is crazy. I thought that guy was washed and he was done, but I would say you need to start taking him a lot more seriously.
More seriously, yeah.
Yeah, more seriously. Thank you. So this guy would have been honorable mention on my bright spot rookies, which is Quay Walker for the Green Bay Packers. The reason he wasn't is because he's been progressing along, where he was 60% snap share to 78. Now he's up in the upper 80s. So he also is now playing kind of that full-time role at linebacker and middle linebacker for the Green Bay Packers, and he's definitely putting up the numbers. So he's not as big as time as the other 5 that I'd mentioned, but he's going to, at the end of the year, probably be one of the top rookie assets. So I was very down on him. I thought he was going to play more outside. He's playing inside, and he looks really good. And Tracy Walker went out for the year. So, the thing in Detroit was kind of, they didn't have a lot of guys there. So it was who's going to fill in. And it looks like, lucky for me, the guy's Juju Hughes, who stepped in as soon as he got hurt and played 88% snaps. So we can look out this week to see if he does get that 100% snap role and the same role that Tracy Walker did, which was very productive at strong safety. So I might have lucked out because I have very little safety depth, and I might have just walked into a starter for the rest of the year as long as he holds up. But he looked really good against us. I saw him kind of everywhere making some big tackles. So Juju Hughes, if you need a strong safety streamer somewhere, that's the guy you're going to want to look at. And I'm just going to mention a couple guys who I think are now must starts. And if you're not starting them, you're fucking up in life. And that is Josey Jewell, who was hurt. And there was a lot of guys that were kind of coming in and out and getting snaps. Josey Jewell went in and he got all the snaps, 95%. And he looked dominant. Scored a lot of points, and he's going to be the guy. He's going to be the middle linebacker that you've always been waiting for on this Denver defense. If you are not starting him, you're fucking up. Make sure Josey Jewell is in your lineup. And I'm going to say the same goes for Frankie Luvu. We mentioned Frankie Luvu on the last podcast as somebody who looked like he was coming up, and he is. Frankie Luvu is dominating snaps. He's 100% snap count right now, which is more than any of the other defenders. So he's the guy calling plays, and he's the guy as a 3-down linebacker outside of even Shaq Thompson, who we thought for sure was going to play 3 downs, and he's around 70-75%. So Frankie Luvu and Josey Jewell, they're 100% middle linebacker, 3-down guys. Like, put them in your lineup, don't fuck it up. And that's all I got for this week.
Wonderful job, buddy. You're a professional, a scholar. and just a really, really good person and friend. So just love what you're doing on the Keep It Snappy segment.
Did
Worth
I
every
keep it
penny.
snappy enough?
That was great. That was great.
Okay.
Wonderful stuff. This is what we like here at the Dynasty Brothers. I'm gonna do mine even snappier. I'm just gonna keep up with the tight end analysis for the year. I looked at the top 32 tight ends in the league, one per each team, and I kind of took a little bit of liberty. Like some guys have found a guy that's scoring a bit more than who you would have perceived their number one tight end to be. So like I kind of make a little bit of an assessment there, but I'm keeping it consistent week over week. So the average of the 32 is now at 7.23. That's up from 6.38. So the average of that position has increased by almost a full point over the first three from first 3 weeks to just week one. And the average again for the top 10 dynasty tight ends has also increased by a point. So the spread's about the same. So what is that telling us? A 3-point spread to invest in a top 10 dynasty tight end. Is it worth it or not? Not sure. If you have Mark Andrews, the answer is probably yes. If you have Kyle Pitts right now, the answer is fucking no. So if you have a Cole Kmet, answer is probably no, right? Like he's actually, it was number 11 on the list. Like Freiermuth, who I have, I'm pretty happy. He's been steady and consistent, right? Like I don't have to worry about that position. If you have a fucking George Kittle, I don't think you're super excited, right? Like you're not excited about his season thus far. He's injured. Last year he's injured. It's just like, we'll see what happens with him rest of the season. If you have a Goddard, you probably invested in a Goddard. You didn't probably draft him, so you probably paid a pretty decent penny for him. You're happy with him, right? Like, but there
Goddard's
has been
one of the few that hit value. Like you said, Andrews, Goddard, maybe Freiermuth. When you're talking redraft and what's hitting based off of value, Kelsey's probably there, but
Kelsey's there.
yeah.
I mean, but you're paying for Kelsey, right? Like at this point.
Yeah. But I mean, just like where they were going, and are they confidently giving you a starting position? Like Goddard, you're not sitting Goddard. He's been good enough,
Yeah.
But I agree with you. Like a lot of Irv Smith, Jesus criminy.
Yeah, and I think he's just outside that top.
Guy might be cut by mid-season.
You find someone like Tyler Conklin that's actually outperforming some of these top 10 guys. A Tyler Higbee that wasn't in the top 10 that's outperforming.
Hey, I'll keep this snappy, Corey.
Gerald Everett, like that's outside of the top 10.
I'll keep this snappy. Tyler Conklin is averaging 95% snaps.
Yeah, I think he's he's good.
We used to call him Tyler Gronklin in the Vikings. I definitely would rather have him than Irv Smith. Irv Smith is a fucking bum.
Yeah, well, Irv Smith's whole outlook could have looked different if he would have snagged that deep ball, which is still exciting.
Yeah, but he's had like 3 other drops. Don't even get me started.
I will not get you started. So I'm going to keep this going. I'm going to kind of keep building the analysis out. I was a believer in investing in tight end because I just wanted to lock that position in. But this is basically telling me right now, if you're just savvy and you find the right ones and you plug them in there, you're not losing a ton of value unless you have the elite guys like an Andrews, a Kelsey, or perhaps a Waller. The Pitts one is what's fucking scary. If you invest a top 5 pick in a Pitts and he's pushed to the side by another threat on offense, and I mean, verdict's not out quite yet on Pitts, but I would say after 2 seasons you're pretty disappointed in that number, top 5 pick, even though he had 1,000 yards receiving last year. Anyway, so we'll keep building that out. Where's the value at? If you drafted Trey McBride in the first round this year, are you happy? Probably not. Not yet, at least. So we'll see. We're going to move on now to the final segment, and that is just the GM. We're going to do it. Just keep it clean. You get the winner and the loser, and that's it. And then we got to go, buddy. Got to wrap it up. I think just before we do that, one of my favorite pods we've done, man. I think we, like, not to toot our own horns, but you probably noticed we haven't added a lot of other people into this. I think Ben and I are just kind of trying to find our scheduling. We're trying to find our rhythm. We're trying to figure out, the segments that are working. We're doing a little bit more analysis, trying to keep things consistent. But we do want to bring some other people in and have them be a part of the show. We just kind of wanted to build our own little rapport and get things kind of solidified before we bringing in the nonsense. So
more nut cutting speak as
yeah,
well.
like trying to keep it fun and doing it consistently at the same time every week, I think helps too. So we'll be reaching out to everybody but Georgia to see if they want to come on the show, and we hope that we get some.
Oh, you're so mean, Corey.
Yep. Georgia's not allowed. So give me your GM winner and your GM loser. We have under a minute each of us to do.
Oh, yeah, for combined week 2 and 3 or each week?
You can do it as long as you do it under a minute. So you can do week 2 and 3, or you can do it combined, whatever you want.
Well, I'm going to give the winner to me. Week 2, put up 250 points, Corey. Big monster. I'm kidding. It's actually Bison. Bison put up 268 and beat who I'm going to give the loser just because it's sad. One man Wolfpack losing 210, scoring 210 and losing in this fucking league is devastating. Veto happened as well. I'm not going to get into it, but I just feel bad when people score that many points and lose.
So could you recap that again? So was that overall week 2 was the winner was who?
Week 2, I gave it to Bison because he put up a monster week against one man Wolfpack who has put up the most points and he has the most points against him. Wolfpack, I think, is 0-3, and he has 700 plus points against. So poor guy. I'm picking him as a loser for both weeks, I guess, because he shouldn't be 0-3. He's putting up numbers, and he's just walking into buzzsaws, and that's the luck of the game, right? And then I guess if I was going to pick a winner for the week 3, Jesus, I don't want to give it to Georgia, but he put up 270 fucking points. It's pretty beefy. Georgia's team looks scary to me.
Yeah, after that first week kind of just collapse against yours truly, like he's rebounded well. So, props to him. Mine overall is just going to be Mike, Penn State. I just think that trade puts him into it just kind of proves how savvy and precise he is and how he executes. And whether or not he won that trade long term is yet to be determined. But in a super pot year, in order to get a player of Javonte Williams caliber who has the potential to turn it on in the back half of the year and dominate, I think just shows kind of the micro moves and the chance taking, and just overall, I think he's put himself in a much better position in going into week 4. So
I gave a dominant asset to a guy who is top 3 in scoring. There's only 3 teams who have scored over 700 points. Penn State is one of them, and you just gave him a little platter. There you go.
Absolutely.
Here you go. Add another 20 points to those weeks.
And then my losers of the weeks are gonna be the newbies. I'm gonna challenge them. Like, hey, fucking interact, motherfuckers. Like, I don't care what your win-loss record is, what your long-term plan is. This league is made up of 32, maybe to 36, maybe it's 29, depending on who has 2 teams. I'm not sure. But we're all here to try to build the best fantasy league in the nation, in the world. We are a work in progress. We're trying our best, as you can see, between the bickering sometimes in the message board and trying to get things right, and picking on Vito for being an outstanding commissioner who has a great fucking demeanor for the role. We're all just trying to build this into something even more special. So either shit or get off the fucking pot, get in there, make some moves, send some bad trade offers out, make some jokes, at least show up to the chat room every once in a while and say, hey, you guys are the fucking losers after week 3. I don't have any respect for any one of you at this point. So that's it.
Bring on the trash talk. We're up here on the pod busting everyone's balls. So feel very free to get in the chat or on the message board and yap back at us. It's totally okay. We know everyone's not here to defend their moves. They're not here to defend what they're doing or their thought processes. We're not here to call you guys dumb or cheaters or anything stupid like that. We're all just making analysis. We love you all. We would love for you to chime back, talk all the shit you want. And the constructive feedback is always nice too. Thank you.
We appreciate you. Keep your nuts safe. We'll be out until next week. Good luck.
Snippy snip.